So I've been wanting to profile this list for a while now. Not profile this list, but profile this deck ever since set 4 came out. But I really wanted to show you guys a version of the deck that I was proud of. You know what I mean? A version of the deck, you know, I've tinkered with it. I've put this in. I've taken this out. I've tried different trigger ratios, different card techs, you know, all that good shit. And I thought each time I tried something new, I thought I had it until I ran into a situation to whereas if I played it another way, it would have been better. Or if I had this instead of that, it would have been better. So this deck has been on and off the workshop for a while now, and I really just want to present. I wouldn't even call this my final product. I would just call it a version of the deck that I'm comfortable with playing right now. That at least right now, in the terms of I'm comfortable with taking this to like a tournament or like a major tournament, and I feel like I could do well, relatively well, with this version of the deck. So let's get on with it. Let's start with the Soul Charge cards of the deck. We're running 19 Soul Charge cards, which the important part to note about these 19 different Soul Charge cards is that you can play all these cards that you could Soul Charge can be resolved on your turn 3, your first grade 3 ride. So you're maxing out on Curtis and you're maxing it out on Tactics. Tactics is a 1 card 10 soul, so obviously it will help you the most in terms of on turn 3 to get you to that 15 soul on your first grade 3 ride. So that's why you are maxing out on the Tactics, even though realistically you're only using Tactics once, maybe twice in like fringe scenarios. But like I said, you max it out at 4 because you really want to see it on that turn 3. And then you're maxing out on Curtis for more or less the same reason. He's just very great value. He's 13k. His power up ability comes in like sometimes, not all the time, depends on your damage amount, depends on your face up, and like other different factors, but you're maxing out on him because of his Soul Charge value. Speaking of, I'm also playing 3 Electro Spartans for the same reason of these are extra cards that get me a lot more soul. Like I said, in this version of the deck, at least in the match videos that you're gonna see, I'm not sure if I'm gonna post the match videos before or after the profile, but in the match videos, there was a lot of times to where I are like playing the amount of Soul Charge cards that I'm playing that I can activate on turn 3. That there was a lot of times to whereas my hand was already had so many Soul Charge cards that I didn't have to discard triggers. I could discard excess pieces that I didn't need. And that's the reason why I'm maxing out on Electro Spartan again, is because I just want that consistency. That consistency that is, I don't have to worry about, or I don't have to completely give up defense to fulfill my 15 combo. And then we're playing 4 Selfish Engraver. There's really not much to say here. Selfish Engraver is your countercharger. She goes to Soul, you know, and this deck is very counterblast heavy, so you do need her in the deck. And then arguably one of the better cards to come out in set 4 is 4 Brainwash Swirlers. This card can get up to massive amounts on your first grade 3 ride. I've gotten columns of Brainwash Swirler like 66, 70, 50, 55, 56, just off of the Soul Charges he sees. And he Soul Charges himself. So he's just a very important integral combo piece to your deck. If you don't see him, and you could still get to 15 soul, you're not crying, but if you do see him and you can get the 15 soul, it almost feels like free damage on your rear guard attacks before your Vanguard attacks. So those are the 19 Soul Charge cards I'm running, and getting on to what I would consider the beaters of the deck. Oh, also, before I forget now, I'm not playing Persona Rides. The reason that I'm not playing Persona Rides in the deck was to have more space to, you know, to be able to play as many Soul Charge cards as I'm running that can be activated on the same turn. Persona Ride is excellent. It counts as a Soul Charge card, but you have to wait a turn to use it. And in all my playing with the deck, I've realized that there's just so many times that I have to pitch Persona that, like, I barely get to Persona Ride, or like I have to put Persona into Soul And, you know, you could technically fish out your Persona Ride, but most of the time you have to fish out Shield because your hand is so tiny with this deck. That's the one caveat of this deck is you're using all your resources to get the 15 soul and to, you know, have a very explosive grade 3 turn, but your hand is very lacking because of this. And I just found that I really wasn't Persona Riding. Persona Rides would clog in my hand, and I would just rather have it be more useful cards, like Electro Spartan. And that's my reasoning for not running Persona Rides, at least for now. Let me actually put these in an order that makes sense. Put this here. Put that there. Yeah, we're going to do it like that. Okay. Alright, on to the rest of the deck. What I would consider your main... how do I describe these guys? What I would consider is like your main attackers slash boosters. These are the 7 cards that you want to call out with your Vanguard's ability when you swing. 4 copies of the Twin Sword, and then 3 copies of Deep Sonicer. Now, Twin Sword, the reason that you want to max out copies on the Twin Sword guy, I know he has like a Q in his name. I can't pronounce it. That's why I'm calling him Twin Sword for this video. But you want to max out on copies because this card's ability is insane. It lets you, on place, fish out any card from your soul that you want. Like I said, this card technically counts as a soul charge card because whatever card you're missing, he can give it to you. If you need shield, like there's so many times that I've soul charged PGs and I've recurred PGs off of this guy. If you need shield, he's got you. If you need pieces, he's got you. If you need power to the front row, which is, this is the main reason why I feel like I can afford to not run Persona Ride, because if I at least call out one of these, my Vanguard is at least 28, which is still a magic number. But, yeah, he's basically anything and everything you ever wanted in the deck. It's very good. You want to max out on 4 copies of this card because this format is a very, not control-heavy format, but everyone has some form of pop, has some, you know, prison. So it's just very important that you have multiple copies of this card. Also, the reason that I'm running Deep Sonicers is I'm running Deep Sonicer for the sole reason over, like, you know, Persona Ride. The reason I'm running Deep Sonicer is the best thing about Deep Sonicer before set 4 came out was that you would call out 2 Deep Sonicers, you would swing, they'd be 28, and if they lived to your next turn, if you were able to keep them alive, you move them to the back row, and they're 18k boosters. And I was missing that. I was running so many grade 2s, so many grade 3s, that I realized I was lacking in the booster department. More or less, I felt like I was lacking in having a powerful booster department. So I put the Deep Sonicers back into the deck because it is a powerful booster and a powerful attacker. Like, you really can't beat this card. Like I said, even though this is a control heavy format, or like a format where everyone has some form of snipe, no matter how minimal it is. The fact is, if it survives, it just makes your secondary turn 4 so much scarier, to whereas this in front of this becomes a 33k column. This in front of your other grade 2s becomes a 28k column. Those are numbers without Persona Ride. So that is the reason why I am maxing out again on the Deep Sonicers. And also the reason that I am playing Deep Sonicers is because my favorite combo with the deck is when my Vanguard swings, I like to call out 1 Twin Sword and 1 Deep Sonicer. The reason I do this is the Twin Sword, because of its ability, is going to be 25k by itself. But the Deep Sonicer, because of the Twin Sword and its own ability, is going to be a 33k rear guard without triggers. And I really like that number. That is such a magic number, and that's why like I said, that's why I'm playing, because that's one of my favorite combos to do with this deck. Either that or just play 2 Twin Swords, because that gives a 10k buff to your Vanguard. Your Vanguard swinging for 33 minimum. But anyways, on to the rest of the deck. I know I kind of rambled there, but you know, I just really wanted to explain myself like thoroughly on why I'm running the deck the way I am. Of course, for PGs, there are times that you kind of do have to discard these, but if you put them in Soul, it's okay. Like I said, you can get them off Twin Sword. It's really not that big of an issue, but you don't want them, you won't want to discard them, and you don't want to see them in damage. Of course, obviously, you know what I mean. But maxing out on 4 PGs, like I said, very aggressive format. Like, you really do need the shield, and most of your shield in this deck is coming from your Perfect Guards. And on to the triggers. This trigger lineup flip-flopped a lot. I'm not going to lie to you. Right now, what I'm doing right now, the trigger lineup is like the most thing that I've changed the most frequently in this deck. But what I have right now is 4 draw. Alright, 4 draw, 4 heal. 7 crit. And then 1 Dark States Overtrigger. Now, the reason that I'm maxing out on the 4... Ooh, can you see that? A little bit of glare. Yeah, you can see it. The glare's not too bad. The reason that I'm maxing out on the draw triggers is because of your ride line, because of Twin Sword. There's a lot of cards that, like, the cost is to discard. The cost is to put a card from your hand into the Soul. So you really do need those extra cards, those extra resources. So that's the reason why I am running the draw triggers, because it turns 1 card into 2 cards, and that just helps you more with the hand sculpting. I really do want to play the fronts, but I feel like running the crits is just too important. Like, the same reason that I'm running the crits in Bruce, even though Bruce has, like, it already gets so much critical pressure, but the crits just help you secure the game. And it's just still arguably the best trigger right now besides the Overtrigger. And the Dark States Overtrigger, there's really nothing much to say. I know some people, at least in my area, some people are running the Cray Elemental Overtrigger to give 2 units 100 million power. But the one thing I don't like about that is if you check it in the early, you don't have rears, it doesn't do anything. So the reason that I prefer, at least in all my Dark States decks right now, I prefer the Dark States Overtrigger is because in any state of the game, no matter your field, you'll always have a Vanguard, and it'll always at least do something. It'll at least have... And it gives your Vanguard, you know, that extra 10k and a crit for the rest of the game. That's, like, very strong to me. Like, you ask one of my good friends right now, he would tell you flat out, to him, because, you know, I have a lot of Dark States decks. Dark States is one of my favorite nations, so I played a lot against them. He'll tell you flat out, that's the best Overtrigger, at least to him, because you have that effect for the rest of the game. And that's really the reason why I run it, because of its versatility of whenever you check it, it's good. Versus the Cray Elemental Overtrigger, you check it, you don't have any rear guards, you basically blanked an Overtrigger. And the point of the Overtrigger is to turn the tides of the game, or, yeah, exactly, to turn the tides of the game. I don't like it. I wish they didn't exist, but it is what it is. And that's pretty much the profile. The Soul Charge crits count as more cards that to put into Soul. So I know I said 19, but that would actually technically be 20, 21, 22, 23. You're running 23 cards that you could Soul Charge on turn 3. So we could say the consistency of getting to 15 is very much there in this deck. I know some other people are running extra draw triggers for the same reason that I said. I wouldn't go more than 4, like I said, because I feel like crits are so important. Place in the meta, I would say this deck would be in the tier 2 range. I wouldn't put it tier 1 because of how tiny its hand size is, and Bruce is just way more explosive. This deck is faster, and Bruce can play earlier than Bruce, but Bruce is just way more explosive on turn 4. and has way more kill potential versus this deck. This deck just gets to play the game a turn earlier and has like a massive board wipe that your opponent has to deal with for the rest of the game. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if there's any other decks you guys want to see in the future. I have like all 16 decks of the five nations, the 5 main nations. I don't have Lyrical, I don't have Token Rambu. Those decks don't interest, those clans don't interest me. But let me know in the comments down below. See you.